Hi students, today I'm at Mainframe Studios and we are going to meet our artist Linda Lewis. Now, Linda sculpts, but you can tell by her video, she also does a lot of drawing and painting on her three-dimensional figures. Let's go inside and meet Linda Lewis.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, I'm Linda Lewis and I do clay sculpture and most of my work is figurative. So that means I make people. And as you see by this piece, I not only make the piece with the face and the body parts, but I also do some drawing or painting on the surface. And usually there are some hidden messages in there. So this one is called, look at the expression on her face, it's called Whatever. I became an artist because I always wanted to be one, but I became a teacher first. And I ended up teaching reading, which I loved. I really liked it, but one thing I always wanted to be was an artist. So at some point I decided, well, I could have two careers in my life. So I started taking clay classes. Before that I was more of a painter, and that's why some of my pieces you'll notice that there's a lot more painting on it than, let's say, your dishes at home. You may have ceramic dishes, but they don't have a design or anything, and I think that's probably why I do more designs on my pieces. And another reason I probably really wanted to be an artist is because when I was younger, we didn't have art in our curriculum in our school, and so I went to college. I took all the art classes I could, so I know I had this motivation to do it anyway. So I just started making things, and then a gallery owner in town saw a couple of my pieces and wanted to know if I could put them in her gallery, and I started applying to things. Artists have to apply for things, and I started getting in some local shows, and I got in the Des Moines Art Festival like a couple of years after I started doing this, so that really spearheaded what I did. So one of the things that I do is I make slabs. How I make them is they're hollow, and I take a slab like this, I roll it out, and then I make it into a cylinder. So that's kind of how I made this cylinder.
A cylinder is a three-dimensional shape in geometry. A cylinder is round and has a top and bottom in the shape of a circle.
This is a cylinder, except I made a part of a cylinder and then I made smaller cylinders and hooked them all together. So they're cylinders, they're all hollow, but this is too. So the torso is a cylinder, this is a cylinder, and then while it's hollow, I reach in and like shape it. Like I actually use my hand to shape this part. And then this is a cylinder, and when they get dry enough, I attach them. This is a cylinder, same way with the legs and the feet and whatever. I start at the bottom and I work up, so the last thing I put on is the head. And that is actually a cylinder too, so it's all empty. Okay, so when I get the piece all put together, before I fire it, which makes it hard, before I fire it, I as long as I can make designs in the clay, that's when I start putting the marks, like here, or any of these. This is called sgraffito, and I paint the whole side black, and then I scratch away and only leave black areas. This is the opposite. I paint it with color and actually paint the design, or I draw the design and then paint it in. Then I go over the lines with a tool to make them a little bit deeper. So that's sort of one side is one way, one kind of a X-ray over here and the real thing over here, kind of. If you notice too, a lot of the pieces that I have a line down the middle. And sometimes one side is totally different, like this one and this one. And this one, they kind of blend, they could be, they're sort of the same on both sides. But a lot of them are enough different that they look very different. So one of the things I do is sort of hide things or symbols in there that mean something to me, or I know means something to someone else. And some of it is just sort of intuitive. I just sort of make something that I think would blend in with the piece or make the piece more interesting. In this case, this piece symbolized when I was a kid how I would go into a field and sit in the field and watch all the bugs fly over me, and there were wildflowers and anyway, it reminds me of when I was young and would go out into this field. I also like to incorporate in some pieces some text. And so in this one, I was thinking about how I don't like to have a lot of attention drawn to myself, like if I'm in a group. And sometimes when that happens, a lot of attention is drawn to me. This one piece is called Sometimes I Want to Disappear. And that's what this is. Like, I just want to disappear and sit in the group and watch other people, because I like to observe people, so. Then when it dries, I would go over it with different colors. So I usually start actually with white, and then all these parts I would take, now that I have it sketched in, I would take different colors and make it really colorful. One of my favorite things to do is sometimes I'll do a series, they call it, about what people think about. So I thought, oh, what do I think about? And somebody asked me one time, well, what do you think about? And I said, well, I think about being at the beach. I love the beach. So there's a little girl in a somebody in a tube on the beach. And then, then that just goes into other things. Like you can tell this guy, he's thinking about being on the golf course. And then this woman, she's on a diet, so what do you think she'd be thinking about? Yep, all the things she is not supposed to eat. You're right. And then sometimes I do a larger piece. So I made this piece for somebody who's retiring. Someone asked me to make it for them. And she introduces Des Moines to corporate people who are moving to Des Moines. And one of the things she has to be is a people person. So I have all kinds of little people in her head because she's always thinking about how she can connect people and how she can make their experience living in the Des Moines area better and that kind of thing. And this is a good example of how I also can do drawings on the outside that kind of say something, at least for that person. That person will know what I'm talking about.